We are 5 graduate filmmakers, and from our bedroom,
we are hosting the Class of 2020 Remix. A live AV event to celebrate the launch of the digital showcase. For the first hour and a half, we'll be mixing with work that's come from graduates from across the art school.
We then have a half-hour guest set from Michael England and a Zoom dance floor that anyone can join in.
So many of us have had to adapt or completely scrap our work, and while this is challenging, it has also provided an opportunity for new ways of thinking, making and collaborating together.
We've organised this event as a way for us to come together and celebrate the work produced across the art school.
So we hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you on the dance floor.
Hello everyone, I'm Joe McCullough, Head of Design of the Manchester School of Art at Manchester Metropolitan University. On behalf of our university, a warm welcome to our special launch of In Progress, the Class of 2020. In Progress features student work from the Manchester School of Art, Manchester School of Architecture and the Manchester Fashion Institute. We are all so excited to be here to celebrate the incredible talent and achievements of our final year students. The digital showcase platforms that went live today truly demonstrates this to full effect in highlighting students' ingenuity, creativity, resilience, and resourcefulness. I am absolutely delighted to be welcoming our special guests for this launch, and we very much hope you'll enjoy the next hour. So please sit back and relax. To commence this event, I now have the great pleasure in introducing you to Professor Sharon Handley, our Pro-Vice Chancellor for the Faculty of Arts and Humanities at Manchester Metropolitan University. Over to you, Sharon.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for the introduction, Joe. I'm delighted to be here this evening to welcome you all to our digital showcases. This is our response to the extraordinary circumstances that we're all living through. As you all know, we would normally have a series of graduate shows on campus and our fashion shows also on campus. In the current circumstances, the staff and students have thought creatively and innovatively about how we could celebrate in different ways. And so we've come up with this digital showcase. I think there are wonderful events and activities around this showcase that you will all enjoy throughout the month of July. Following my welcome, there will be a really interesting conversation not to miss between our alumnus, Ryan Gander, in conversation with Katie Popperwell. So that's one to watch. All that we do is around our students. We are really proud of our students, and the events and activities that they've been doing in preparation for tonight show me why we are so proud of them. Before I hand back to Joe, I'd just like to thank Joe and the team for the wonderful work that they have all done, curating and coordinating these events. I'd also like to thank all of our external partners and collaborators, families, carers, guardians, and friends in supporting our students over their years of study. I would also like to thank our amazing staff and students for making this happen. We are really proud of you all, creating such an extraordinary response to an extraordinary moment in time. Finally, I'd like to end by sharing a quote from one of our external examiners, which for me sums it all up. Looking at the students' work, I had to remind myself that a significant proportion of their work was completed under our current exceptional circumstances. The voices of these students are as strong as ever, original, authored, and infused with an oft seamless integration of theory and practice. Amid a once-in-a-generation challenge, they have proven to be creative practitioners of incredible insight, talent, and grit. I think that says it all. So thank you for listening, and I hope you really enjoy your evening. Stay safe and enjoy your time with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharon. I am now absolutely delighted to introduce to you artist and Manchester School of Art alumni, Ryan Gander, in conversation with arts and culture producer, Katie Popperwell.
Thank you, Joe. Hello, everyone, and congratulations to all of you that are completing your studies at Manchester School of Art, if not quite in the way that you had imagined. My name's Katie Popperwell, and I'm joined today by artist Ryan Gander, who 21 years ago was graduating from Manchester School of Art in Interactive Arts. He was right on the cusp of the 21st century. He was facing a world that included a Labour government in the UK, a united European Union, imagine that, and some widespread confusion over something called the Millennium Bug. Ryan followed up his studies in Manchester with research residencies at the Jan van Eyck Academy in Maastricht and at the Rijksacademy in Amsterdam. During his career, Ryan has exhibited at major galleries all over the world, including the Museum of Contemporary Art Chicago, Palais de Tokyo in Paris, and the New Museum in New York. In 2017, he was awarded an OBE for services to contemporary art. He's also a professor of visual art at the University of Huddersfield and a committed educator, writer, and theorist. He works across multiple media, and his practice encompasses elements of architecture, design, sculpture, city planning, children's books, language, performance. We're here to talk about his art school experience and how that's influenced his life and work, and how he's responding to the current crisis and what the future might hold for the art sector. Hi, Ryan.
You're right.
Thank you so much for joining us.
You make me sound really old. 21 years ago.
I know.
Quite a long time. I try to forget how old I am.
Did it feel like the turn of the century?
It was all a blur, to be honest. I can't remember much of it. I think once you've had kids, you have to make so much space in your brain for them that you forget a lot. But weirdly, it didn't feel, I don't remember it feeling optimistic or pessimistic or anything, which is what you'd expect with a big defining moment in history. I can't remember much about the millennium.
Can you remember much about your first day at art school?
Yeah, I remember being petrified. I remember not knowing, it was quite a liberal free course that I was on, interactive arts. And it was built on the principle of freedom, which is what all good art related courses should be based on, I think. So it was quite open. I remember we went on a walk, we went to Chinatown and we had to make an artwork in the city. And I didn't know anyone, and we just wandered around the city looking for strange semiotic clues of urban narrative.
That sounds like that would have suited you quite well, actually.
Well, I carried it on for 21 years after that.
What about your last day at art school? What are your memories of graduating?
Yeah, I remember I did the graduation speech, I don't know when it was, maybe 5 or 6 years ago at MMU I got a honorary doctorate. So I put the silly hat on and the gown and went to the Bridgewater Hall and did all that. And I told a story when I did that chat there, which was about my graduation speech. And I guess I guess that was my last day, really. And I mean, this probably sounds quite bad, but I didn't go to my graduation because I was a pent up, angry art student. I've mellowed out over time. But I remember thinking that it was the art that mattered and not the piece of paper. And I was kind of very bravado in my decision not to attend, much to the disappointment of my mum and my nana and my grandma. And I thought a lot of people would do that. They'd be too cool for it. And then I found myself on my own the day of the graduation. Everyone was having dinner with their mums and dads. And I was like texting them, asking, do you want to come out and play? Come to the pub. And nobody, everyone went to it, and I felt a bit cheated. So I sort of redid my graduation when I got the doctorate thing. I got to put the silly gown on after all. But it's funny. I mean, I think if I was graduating again, I would definitely go. I think it's super important to celebrate your achievements, especially when they're taken 3 years. But there's something in that story that is still in me now, I reckon. This idea that what you do during the 3 years is the thing of significance. It's not the graduation. It's not the degree show. It's just the beginning, really. I think like those 3 years taught me to imagine, and it sounds a bit Mystic Meg and spiritual. I don't want to sound like that, but it taught me to daydream. You know, when kids look out the window of the car and there's music on and they're in the back seat and their parents are driving, and they look out and they're imagining themselves like at Live Aid, or I don't know, you know, whatever their interests are, they imagine themselves in other alternative, parapossible realities and futures. And that is what effectively all the students who are graduating from any arts related discipline, any creative degree, have learned. And although, you know, at the time I didn't realize it, it's a few years later that you realize what you learn, I think. It's learning to imagine a different reality to the reality that we're in. There's this strange thing where, I don't know if you've noticed, but since the millennium, every vision of the future has been a negative one. So we have The Walking Dead and we have all this like apocalyptic stuff all the time.
A real preoccupation with horror, isn't there?
Yeah. And like the end is nigh, kind of all this stuff. And when you think like when I was 10, no. Yeah, maybe, or maybe a bit earlier than that. Everything was like Star Trek, the vision of the future was amazing. You know, everything was a positive vision of the future. And the last 10, 15 years, we've just had negative visions of the future. And it's not the job of the people who did a science degree or did an architectural degree to be able to think the way out of it. We would assume that, but it's the people that did more. It's less to do with engineering, it's more to do with poetry. It's to do with daydreaming and being imaginative.
To do with imagining something new to put into the world and how that's going to change.
Exactly.
I mean, now that the dystopia has kind of become manifest, we have no alternative but to try and envisage something more positive, don't we?
I just think it's replaced, you know, the space that of the fun that we think we're going to lose will just be replaced by the fun. I've never seen so many people cycling. I've never seen so many people on the beach with their family. You know, I've never seen so many people finding enjoyment in small things. It's like we've entered an era of smaller things, and we're going at the speed we were meant to go at.
We've got right into it, but I want to take you back to talking about Manchester.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
I can, but no, it's fine. What was it like then? What was the city like then? Because it was really different in terms of what was available as an art scene, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and what made you choose it?
I chose it because I was a procrastinator. Is that the word? The thing that all art students shouldn't do. The biggest evil of creativity, procrastination, is, I don't know if I should do that. Should I? Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. Just do it. If it's rubbish, just chuck it in the skip, start again. You know, you only learn by doing things. And I was in a kind of, I only lost that and gained like confidence in what I was doing when I was at Manchester. So when the UCAS selection, you know, where you choose your university and that happened, I just left it too late. I was faffing about, worrying so much that I had nowhere to go. And I met a guy who was opening this course. And I was like, that's interesting because it's not fine art. So it sort of navigates around all the stereotypes of what a fine art, because I never felt like I was going to be an artist. I thought I'd be a journalist or something. I didn't feel like, you know, I loved art, and it ended up that I ended up making art because it was more about the cognitive than the retinal, and the things that I made didn't have a function. So it ended up being art, but I never wanted to be an artist. I just ended up wanting to make art.
So what happened after you graduated? Because you didn't go straight to Maastricht, did you?
What happened? I think I had a year out. What did I do? I had a year. Worked at Allied Carpets for a bit, and I worked for North Wales newspapers as a photographer. I think they only employed me because I had a phone, a camera, and a car. And I only had a car because I'm in a wheelchair, and I got a government car for free. So it was a complete scam, really. I shouldn't have been a photographer.
But it wasn't for you.
It was just 1 year, and I just, yeah. And my dad worked at Vauxhall's in Ellesmere Port, and he said that when we went to the British Art Show in Manchester that year. It was there 20 years ago, something, maybe longer.
No, it was supposed to. No, it was 20 years ago because it was supposed to be this year.
Was it?
September, yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. 20 years ago. Crazy. And my dad said, yeah, we went to see exhibitions together, and we talked about what I wanted to do. And a lot of my friends who were interested in art, their parents were like, don't do art. There's no future in it. Don't do art. You know, that whole Middle England stereotype that.
Well, because it's not useful, right? It's not practical.
Well, that's another conversation. But I mean, I think it's the most useful.
I mean, that attitude expresses that idea that people.
It's a generation, isn't it? That say that. I think. Yeah, my dad was really supportive. He said, why don't you go and do art? It's like a job, not like he had a repetitive job that he didn't particularly enjoy. And he said, you get to do anything you want every day, and every day you can do something different. And I was like, that is a good job, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of, and I also think it's like, why spend your life working to enjoy your life at the weekend when you can just have a job that you enjoy the whole week as well, just by making the right decisions.
And that's great. That's so.
Yeah, it might not be being an artist. That's the thing, or being an architect, or being a fashion designer, or they're like, there's not many of those jobs about. But I always think there's a mega difference between a firefighter that went to art school and a firefighter. And that's that the firefighter is genuinely happy and thinks about the world in a different way, because they know that their liberty and their freedom exists for them to do something that they enjoy, because they've spent time living and enjoying what they do. I mean, it's just a different. I mean, I think that maybe art shouldn't be taught. Just everything should be taught creatively. Art should be in every subject. You should have creative scientists, creative mathematicians, creative mechanics, creative doctors and nurses. I mean, that's what we do.
Art is a cross-disciplinary practice that you could just, that it's to do with an attitude, because it's a critical approach as well as a creative one, isn't it? But it's not just being an artist is not just about making art. It's also about navigating the art world, which can be a really intimidating one, especially when you're starting out. So understanding how to engage with networks of public and private galleries, art shows, art fairs, collectors, that can be so daunting. How did you start to navigate that world? And have you got any advice for the students that are watching now?
I had no strategy at all then, but with the hindsight, with retrospect, with the privilege of hindsight, looking back and working out what had happened was, that old cheesy saying that you get what you give back. It's just what you do. It's like what you do, you get back. It's very, very simple. You can't wait for a gallerist to come. And I think there's also a massive stigma. People are dead scared of networking, looking too bloodthirstily ambitious or capitalist or success obsessed, or there's all that negativity that surrounds people in this cloud of worry. And it's not like that. If you were into Formula One racing, you'd go and hang out at the Formula One racing track and talk to mechanics and whatever. Do you know what I mean? If you're into pizzas, if you want to be a chef, you go and study and eat pizzas. And I don't know, it's just a natural affinity to be around people and things that you love. It's not like a bad thing. And I guess, I mean, I'm doing it now. I'm doing free tutorials at the moment. I have been for a few months. I guess 4 friends each month who are dead good people in the art world to, you just basically email, it's on Instagram, you email and the computer picks people every week, and I do free tutorials on Zoom with them just as something to do.
Yeah.
And there was a lad who I spoke to in Sydney this week, and he said, thanks so much for doing it. And I said to him, it's not, you don't have to thank me. I'm actually doing it for me. I like seeing art. I like meeting people, and I like chatting about art. That's what I do. I really enjoy it. So you don't have to thank me. I'm doing it for me. But I think that is a good attitude to have. And maybe it's not an attitude that you can adopt. Maybe you just have it or you don't. But
I don't know. I think don't be afraid of being enthusiastic.
Yeah, totally.
Don't think I've got to be too cool for school and like play it. Play down how much you love it. Play down how excited you are. You don't have to do any of that. You can throw yourself into it. And
there's nothing worse than waiting for a take curator or Charles Saatchi or someone to walk into your degree show and being disappointed, because it doesn't happen. That's just fairy tale stuff. What happens is you love art or you love design and you do stuff. You start a collective, you start a space in an old shop that you're given, you do stuff and people see you doing stuff and then they ask you to do stuff.
Yeah.
That's the way it works.
So with all the stuff that you have done, which is loads, you take like I mentioned before, a multidisciplinary approach to materials, and sculpture, film, writing, graphic design, music, all of it. How did your education and your degree in Manchester shape your attitude to materials?
It made me understand that you can be a director rather than a producer.
What do you mean?
I found out that if you were really positive and excited and you wanted to do things that were genuinely exciting, like curate a massive show in a warehouse that was empty, you could do it quite easily just by calling a few people and everyone would be excited about it. And that by directing, you were sort of like the conductor of the orchestra, and that was an incredibly creative act as well. And that falls into everything now. So there's a sculpture now being installed at the moment in, where is it? Do you know where The Walking Dead was shot?
No.
Atlanta.
Oh, right, okay.
But I've seen it and I saw it on the computer, but I didn't pour the concrete. I didn't polish the steel. And it's like having a vision and being able to mold and articulate that vision right until the point of fruition. But that involves a lot of people. It's having an overview of things, I guess it taught me.
There's a real your work, you use a lot of materials, but your work is not concerned with materiality first and foremost. It's the semiotics of it, isn't it? It's the meaning and the complex meaning of your work that is the thing that makes it coherent as a body of work. And it really made me wonder, what were the theorists that you came across when you were studying and in your education that still influence you now?
It's funny because I didn't actually do any theory really till after.
Didn't you?
And then I started reading stuff and I was like, that's what I was doing. I didn't know that people had written all about that. The idea that the cognitive is more important than the retinal, and that art isn't for the eyes, art is for the mind. So this is an art object, it's a sculpture. This isn't the art. The story behind how this exists and why it exists and its history is the art. This is just the byproduct or the receipt or the offcut or the fallout. So actually owning this really is just saying that you appreciate the story. But I can take that away and I can tell you the story about it And someone could be telling someone that story in a bar in Barcelona right now. And that's the art. The art is the stories around things. The things are just the vessels or the carriers for the stories.
That's a really interesting approach. What do you think the role of art criticism and the art historian is in that then?
Don't know. They dissect the stories. They decide how good the stories are, or what value the stories have to the world. I mean, it's a kind of Buddhist approach, isn't it? And it's a very anti-capitalist mentality. You know, that when we're gone, all this stuff. You know, we've got time, which is our lives, and it gets less and less and less the older we get. I know that because I'm over 40. It gets less and less and less, and as we get less and less and less time, we get more and more crap. So there's this like graph going like that. We get more and more and more, and all this stuff we have. At the end, we don't get to keep it. So it's getting those two lines in sync with each other, that only having the things that are important to you, not having like buying loads of rubbish clothes that you'll wear for like a week and chuck them out. You know, buy a clothes like that has a story to it, that you know the person that made it, or you made it yourself. These are the things that make life worth living like a creative life.
There was a really great quote that I came across when you said about your work that it's an objective view that your work has more endpoints than starting points, like a 1970s children's choose your own adventure story. I really like that idea because it's really playful and it's really freeing, but it's also very much about the experience of the work, about the audience experience of the work. And I wonder whether or not you think that artists need to be concerned about making their work accessible and how accessible it is to an audience.
It depends on your discipline. Because like I do art, you know, for museums and that free art, like an artist, but I also do a lot of other roles. Like I just made a music video for this band Idols, and I just finished editing the other day, and that's not free work. You know, it has an end user, has a client, has a budget, it has restrictions and perimeters, so it's more in the realms of design, I guess. And loads of stuff that I do is in the realms of design, and loads of art that I made that is supposedly free work, I give myself restrictions on it. I give myself an end user or a budget to otherwise, you know, if you're free and you can do anything, it's like rabbit in the headlights. Sometimes you just can't do anything. It paralyzes you, just stop. So it depends on what it is you're making, and it depends on, you know, what discipline you're from or what discipline you're operating in at that moment. I mean, but for me, you know, a lot of people say, I get asked all the time because I do a lot of different things, and a lot of some of it's design and some of it's you know, consultancy work and architecture and stuff as well. A lot of people ask me, is it art or design? And it doesn't matter if it's art or design. It just matters if it's good or not. If it's boring art, it's boring art. If it's boring design, it's boring design. It doesn't make any difference which one it is. It just makes a difference if it's good or not.
What you said about restrictions and sometimes giving yourself artificial parameters. We're in a period of very, very tight restriction at the moment, where, you know, the students that are watching this have had absolutely crippling restrictions placed over them the last couple of months. Are you able to think of that and this period that we've been through as one that offers opportunity? Or
I think, you know, if everyone is restricted, everyone's restricted. So everyone's even. It's not like people are going to run past us. We've all downsized and slowed down. So all it is the context has changed. The context could have got bigger, but it would have still got bigger for everyone. So it makes no odds. That's the way I see it. It doesn't mean less opportunities. It just means we're working in a fixed amount of opportunities. If it hadn't have happened, we still would have been working in a fixed amount of opportunities.
So it's just a level playing field.
It's a level, totally. And I also think that, you know, the most creative moments happen from restriction and struggle. Look, after the Second World War, the best art was made in the history of humankind. And that was because there'd been years of struggle. And it's also like, I never like to use the word efficient with art because I think it makes it clinical and a bit, I don't know, mechanical and clumsy. But there's a strange, in that learning to be creative and in that learning to daydream and in that learning to imagine other realities, stare out the car window, listening to your music rather than looking at your phone and imagining something different. In that excitement that exists whole new possibilities of different efficient ways of working. So there's a thing that I've done for years that's just to test myself. It's a bit like taking your mind to the gym, and I really love doing it. It's a really good laugh, and it sounds a bit like a project you'd set for kids, but I haven't really told anyone. I just do it for myself. I try and make an artwork every few months, that because a lot of the art I make, you know, it could cost 10,000 quid to make it because it could be cast aluminium or, you know, the big things, some of the things, or videos, huge production team. But I tried to make an artwork that's under £5 that is museum grade art. And I made one last week, and it's seriously one of the best works I've made in the last 6 months. Say I've made 30 works in 6 months. It's probably the best one. I think it cost £3.97.
What is it?
It's an A-level art and design exam paper from the future, from 2027, but written from the perspective that we're honest about our ambition and intentions in being an artist. So the stuff we never talk about, like, I want to be famous, I want to be rich, I don't want to work in a repetitive job. It's written based around the premise that people are honest about why they like making art. Right, because it's the stuff we never talk about, isn't it, really? Because we're too moral and ethical to admit that being an artist is brilliant. It's it's the best job in the world.
That sounds like a deliciously uncomfortable piece of work. I really like the sound.
And it just goes by the door of the gallery in, you know, like a Office World paper box that you get reams of paper in. So the only stuff that, I printed a load of sheets and put a box by the door, and that was it. And they're free for the spectator or the viewer or the visitor to take with them away. And the museum just prints more and fills it up.
So what else have you been making during lockdown? How's it been for you?
It's good. Been doing a lot of worrying about business because I run a business. That's weird. So everyone who works in the studio is furloughed. But again, I used to work at the kitchen table for like a decade ago. I worked at the kitchen table for a decade on a laptop. So I never had a huge studio and 10 people helping me. And so it's been more creative, more fun. Sounds terrible. I hope they're not watching, the people that work with us. Less admin.
Yeah.
More hands-on and more messing about. All the stuff that I used to do at college, like take it off the wall, turn it upside down, put it back on. And why not? You know, take the sculpture off the pedestal and put it on the floor. Why not? Just turn it upside down, see how things look. I was doing all that. I've been doing that. Just being creative, trying to be creative.
Right. We are going to go now to a couple of questions from some students. So thank you so much. It's been really nice to talk to you. So we're going to hear from some students now. So we've got a number of students joining us now, all of whom would have been graduating are graduating from Manchester School of Art this year. So we've got Dan, Christina and Nola graduating in Fine Art. Give us a wave. And we've got Talia and Amira graduating in Textiles in Practice. So you guys are going to ask some questions for Ryan. We're going to have a little bit of a chat. So who wants to go first? Christina?
Sorry, just to mute myself. Hello.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, good. My question is about, I guess, maintaining creativity in such a challenging time. I know that I have definitely struggled in making anything. I don't really, I'm not fortunate enough to have like facilities at home to, in the same way that they were at university. Like, I don't have a glass workshop here, for example. So I guess my question was about adaptability and what your advice would be to conquer a situation like this and look after yourself as well as your practice.
Do you know what I do when I haven't got any space? If I'm traveling or whatever, I just have a piece of paper. I don't have a fancy moleskin notebook. It can be the back of a cornflake box. Not that I carry cornflakes around with me everywhere, but what I do is I imagine a space I'd like to have a show in, and I draw a square, and that's the space. And they're usually quite grand places, like the Turbine Hall at Tate Modern. This is very wishful thinking, kind of projective workshop in my brain. And I imagine what I do, and then I draw it and write it. So I don't think anyone needs a glass workshop or photo studio or a sewing machine, because it's only ideas. And the currency of ideas is they don't weigh anything. You don't have to ship them or send them in the post. You can transport them really easily by telling people them or writing them down. I just generate as many ideas as possible. I mean, I can't really... Am I allowed to move the camera? But I mean, this is my office. Can you see each piece of paper is a...
Yeah, wow.
It's an idea for a work. And the way that I work is because you can't keep all that stuff in the front of your head. You can't keep it in your RAM, your random access memory. So it needs to be everywhere. Just write it down, because you'll forget it otherwise.
Okay.
I mean, get a notebook. If it's got 100 pages, in a week you'll have 100 ideas for amazing projects.
Okay. I guess that the attitude towards things has to be that this is going to end. So there is going to be a world that you will be able to make that work in. And that's the thing that you need to keep in mind as well. It's big, but it's not forever.
I'd also just quickly say, don't underestimate the power of storytelling, because you've got to remember that all good artworks are about the story. So Cornelia Parker once had a meteorite land in her garden in Walthamstow or somewhere. She picked it up, and the story goes that she gave it to NASA to send back to space. But there's a beautiful, beautiful artwork, amazing work, but there's no documentation of it. There's no reply from NASA. But we're talking about it now. So this work exists now just through storytelling. So it's got to remember it's about the ideas.
We move on to another question then. Does anyone else want to have a go? Amira?
Unmute myself. Okay, so hi, first of all.
Hiya, you all right?
I'm good, thank you. One thing that I wanted to ask is, in a world with social media at the moment where the art world is very, very, very saturated with beautiful and amazing things, like it's brilliant, how do you stand out and get the right people to notice you in order to kind of get that diving off point into opportunities in this very crowded art world that we're living in at the moment?
That is an amazing question. It's a question that I'm dealing with as well. I was hoping you had the answer to it, to be honest. I mean, you've got to appreciate that there's a currency to the whisper. I think that's really important. We're in a moment where money isn't the greatest asset. It isn't the greatest currency. Time and attention are the greatest currencies. Your time is more valuable than the money that you will be paid, because what you can do, it's also a great equalizer, because everyone effectively is born with the same amount of time. It's what you do with your time. It's where you put your attention. that matters. Money is irrelevant. Money has actually no value.
Yeah.
But everyone is fighting for your attention. But the way that people fight for your attention is that they shout at you and they flash and they bleep and they reflect, and there's millions of colours and there's whirring and pulsating strobes lights and shouts. And I think that people are beginning to ignore those strategies of attention capitalism. And people are, if you go up to someone and you whisper something to them, you will stop them in their tracks and they will listen. So it's finding ways of articulating and tools for making messages that don't shout. But that's your job as a creative person, is to find those. It might not be on social media. You might not need 1 million likes and 1 million people to see it. It might be better that you deeply, fundamentally, emotionally affect 10 people than 1 million people scroll past something and forget it. So true. I think about the seesaw of time and attention.
Thanks for that, Amira. That's a good question.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Nola?
Hello.
Hello.
So I was wondering, I really like the way that you talked about the production of work being like the record or like receipts of ideas and stuff, I guess. And I was wondering, as obviously Chris, you were saying before, we've moved all of our stuff out of the studio, and it's been a process of like gathering all of these receipts and things that have been all kind of like different diagrams of thought and putting them in this new context of like our home or wherever we are. And it's been quite a strange, interesting process trying to figure out how to keep the weight of these receipts and like the weight of ideas, and like you were talking about like the currency of ideas. Do
you mean the physicality or the importance? Do you mean the physical weight, that there's too much stuff, or?
No, but that
mean
too.
the power of
the definitely, and how you kind of maintain that over time, I guess was my question, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's another, it's a good question, because it's another one that I deal with all the time, is how do you recognize what's worth pursuing and what isn't? Is that what you mean? What I put all the good stuff in red. I use black ink and blue ink for just stuff, and then use red ink for really important stuff. Is that a terrible answer?
But I guess just to press you more, sorry.
No, go on.
Okay, go on.
Like, I suppose wondering how you keep things feeling important and worthy and valuable when the valuable thing is the idea rather than like the monetary value, which is always kind of, that isn't defined by you, that's defined externally. How you keep that like internal value.
Would that relate to how important the story is to you?
Yeah, I guess. So maybe would it just be about the quality of the story, do you think? If it's good, then
I think it depends. I mean, this is the thing about fine art especially, is, I think all really good artists become really good artists when they work out who they are with fine art. When you can key in to who you are and that resonates in the things that you make, then the stories become incredibly personal and important. And you can see that, if I saw your work and I could see you in the work, your persona, your position in society, your view, your aspect, then the work becomes good work just naturally. I mean, that's what art does. I think like it's a seesaw between making the work universally interpretable by people, not too specific, but specific enough that there's a tone, pitch, and a certain articulation that is your voice as an artist. And it's getting that balance maybe. But the value of ideas to you would be different to other people. It's like that thing that we spoke about earlier, where all good artwork start in one place but end in a million places. And that's because there's loads of you and you're all different people and you like different things and you hate different things and you will all read things differently. And that's good art. If it was just one way into the artwork, one starting point and one ending point, it wouldn't actually be art. It'd just be something else. We can do that now. That's just clear communication. It's in the ambiguity and it's in the loss of meaning and the confusion where magical, beautiful noises happen. That's where the magic is.
Dan, have you got a question?
Yeah. Hiya.
You right?
Yeah. Right. I guess I just wanted to ask, your on your own personal feelings about any of the online shows that you have done, about how effective they have been when they're online, and sort of because I was thinking about how you're talking about how it's just the story that is important, necessarily for the piece of work to really work, but kind of just.
I mean, I think if you go out into the world, I went outside now. The world is so amazing. It's full of so many crazy signs and signifiers and so many beautiful things that you're not gonna be able to make a context like that online. That will never happen.
I guess, yeah, that's what I was trying to point out, is that the object has it's for a story to be told. There's or a story to be told effectively. There's an element of physicality that is really necessary. Or maybe it just makes it sometimes easier to tell a story.
I think it depends what your ambition is, because I know loads of artists whose ambition is to their quest, their aim, their goal is to make a dead ace artwork that exists online. That's a challenge as well. It could be that you want to make an amazing artwork that is wearable and not in the gallery context, or you want to make an amazing artwork that is something you leave on the street or embroider on a bus seat. I don't know. It's your work, but it is another physicality and it is another place. So it's also a dead politically contentious question because we're all doing shows online. Not you guys. I mean, you are as well, but I'm doing shows online. I've done 100 Zoom tours of the gallery in my studio. I meant to have a show open in New York last week. The week before that, there was one in Nice. Everything's cancelled at the moment, but everyone faces that. So we're all just on the level. We're all on a level playing field. So it's being creative even within that remit, I think, is important. It's staying creative and challenging yourself I'm trying to think of a work that would work really well online as well. It's a good challenge. It's a healthy cognitive exercise.
And just quickly, Ryan, have you got any questions for these guys?
I do actually. I wanted to know, when did you last feel creative? Not when did you last make art? Were you last making your work? When did you last feel creative?
Nola, let's start with you.
I think maybe because we're all probably, those of us that are still in Manchester are kind of coming to the end of our tenancies and gearing up to move house, and packing and the tessellation required in packing has definitely been a cognitive test for me at the minute.
Sounds like a word.
Yeah, maybe.
The tessellation of packing.
Get your notebook out straight away, I'm telling you.
Talia, how about you?
For me, I think I've kind of struggled a bit to stay creative, but I did a few days ago. I had an urge to paint, so I just started painting just randomly. And I think because now I've finished uni, I don't have to focus on the purpose kind of getting graded and going through that process. It was just kind of that freedom of being able to just paint because I wanted to.
Do you know what? I think you've answered every question in this whole half hour now, because that is the right answer to every question that's been asked. Because I think that it's only when you're doing it now it matters. It didn't matter those 3 years, actually.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that because the university, but it didn't. What matters is that you do it now, because this is the beginning, this moment. Doing it now is what's important.
Mm-hmm.
You do it now, you'll do it forever, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I think for me, like personally, I don't know if it's like my textiles brain that's done this, but I just, in everything, I think we've kind of trained ourselves to see pattern and texture in the smallest things. Like I'm literally just looking outside into our garden. It's more like some slabs, but you can just see like textural, amazing things. So I think a lot of artists have this, that sometimes it can be a bit exhausting because you see everything in a creative way.
It sounds like you're all really qualified. That's what's happened.
Dan, how about, I'm going to have to move on to Dan.
Yeah,
we're running out of time. Sorry, Amira. Go on.
Yeah, pretty much the same as Nola, just trying to sort out creatively, like trying to work out how we're going to move all our stuff. Yeah, I don't know.
Try and take 10 minutes today. Just do something. But I think it's living, it's a romanticization of being an artist. If you're romantic about it and then you enjoy doing it, then you just keep doing it. Where if you think, I've got to do it because of the degree, like you said, or if you need to do it because of whatever, that's not what it's about. It's about doing it because you're artists. So just take 10 minutes today. Right after this now, get a bit of paper. Seriously. 10 ideas, come on.
You need to answer Ryan's question before we go.
Yeah.
I think I was thinking of something that like clever I could say, but actually the most creative thing that I've done recently was my mum's birthday on Sunday. Obviously we can't go out at the minute. So I made like a cocktail bar in the garden. Like I made a bar out of like some crates and some wood, and I went out and bought some rum, and I made a rum bar with a menu and everything. I think that
sounds like an artwork as well. I've been to Manifesta Biennial and Documenta and all these huge international exhibitions, and there's always an artist who's made a bar.
Yeah,
you're on the right track. I'm telling you.
I think I've just realised that it's mentally been like a bit of a struggle, I think, for all of us. But the best way forward is organised fun.
Yeah, totally.
Force all of your family members to do. Just get them day drunk. Yeah.
Right.
That's a great place to end, isn't it? Being day
that
drunk.
really is. Thank you so much to all of you. Thank you, Dan, Christina, Talia, Amira, Nola, and thank you so much to Ryan Gander.
Cheers.
Take care, everybody.
See ya.
Bye.
See ya.
On behalf of us all, thank you both so much, Katie and Ryan, and what was an engaging and engrossing conversation. Thank you so much too to our brilliant students in participating in the Q&A. I am now going to hand over to our most important people, our students, for an introduction to this exciting student-led live event.
We are 5 graduate filmmakers, and from our bedroom,
we are hosting the Class of 2020 Remix. A live AV event to celebrate the launch of the digital showcase. For the first hour and a half, we'll be mixing with work that's come from graduates from across the art school.
We then have a half-hour guest set from Michael England and a Zoom dance floor that anyone can join in.
So many of us have had to adapt or completely scrap our work, and while this is challenging, it has also provided an opportunity for new ways of thinking, making and collaborating together.
We've organised this event as a way for us to come together and celebrate the work produced across the art school.
So we hope you enjoy it and we'll see you on the dance floor.
I hope you can join us later for this one night only interactive dance floor party. Our students are on the decks and remixing visual work sourced from the in-progress Class of 2020 showcases with special guest Michael England. Don't forget to register to get on the guest list and join the party. Please also look out for all of the events in July. We have an incredible lineup of speakers and events for you. On behalf of Manchester Metropolitan University, thank you all so much for attending and taking part in the celebration of our in-progress Class of 2020. Congratulations once more to all of our students and their incredible achievements, and we wish them all well for happy and successful futures. I hope you've enjoyed this very special evening. Maybe see you later on the dance floor. Stay safe. Thank you and have a great evening.
According to my life path cycle number, which is 8 Sigma signifies a lifetime of investing in myself and overcoming judgments that stand between me and my strong ambitions. Apparently, I will learn that others can only dominate me if I allow them to. And all circumstances can be changed by taking determined actions. I'm here to learn about life's material and financial aspects from an intellectual and emotional perspective. Modern numerology often diminishes its meaning with an almost exclusive focus on material and financial matters. Eight is the number of power on the physical plane, but it is also the number of true understanding and balance, without which personal power is superficial and material gain is easily lost. I mean, I'm still young and I have no idea. 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 No idea. No idea. Without which personal power is superficial and material gain is easily lost. I mean, I'm still young and I have no idea, but hopefully that's me until 2026, at least. That's me until 2026, at least. That's me until 2026, at least. That's me until 2026, at least.
figure that out. I'm not worried about it. Keep writing.
I see hard work but big rewards. 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 I see hard work but big rewards.
My inability to recognize the earlies is always black and white. Sentiment, humanity has no right to reside amongst this precisely planned cacophony.
I see activism and I see making and I see connecting those things and trying to connect movements to produce change.
This is freedom, and it sure is a
To produce change. I see activism, change. Activism, change. Making and I see connecting those things. Change. Change.
future, I see myself completely redefining the visual language of the moving image.
In the future, I see myself completely redefining the visual language of the moving image. Language of the moving image. Redefining the visual language of the moving image.
Activism.
Redefining the visual language of the moving image. Redefining the visual language of the moving image.
Uncertainty, but that's okay.
From an intellectual and emotional perspective. Modern numerology often diminishes its meaning with an almost exclusive focus on material and financial matters. Eight is the number of power on the physical plane, but it is also the number of true understanding and balance.
Uncertainty, but that's okay.
Without which personal power is superficial and material gain is easily lost. I mean, I'm still young and I have no idea. I'm still young and I have no idea. 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 I mean, I'm still young, I have no idea.
Activism, change. Activism, change.
No idea. No idea. No idea. I mean, I'm still young, and I have no idea. No idea. No idea. No idea. I mean, I'm still young, and I have no idea.
In the future, I see technology which is in benefit of the design process becoming more freely available to the general user. In the future, I see technology which is in benefit of the design process becoming more freely available to the general user. Technology will no longer be used simply to mystify a concept through flashy visuals. But rather as something which genuinely benefits the design process and can create things which perhaps may not have been possible beforehand. Can create things which perhaps may not have been possible beforehand.
No idea. No idea. No idea. No idea. No idea. no idea. I'm still young, and I have no idea. No idea.
In the viable future after lockdown, I see myself working on more creative projects that work with trauma, memory, and other thematics that include in my practice. Alongside the work that I produce as an artist, I'd like to also engage in curation as a career path. Presented artists, providing them a platform for those who do not possess a means to be heard, to be seen. Presented artists, providing them a platform for those who do not possess a means to be heard, to be seen. Presented artists, providing them a platform for those who do not possess a means to be heard, to be seen. Who do not possess a means to be heard, to be seen.
Uncertainty, but that's okay. Uncertainty, but that's okay. Uncertainty, but that's okay. Change.
According to my life path cycle number, which is it.
Signifies a lifetime of investing in myself and overcoming judgments that stand between me and my strong ambitions. Signifies a lifetime of investing in myself. Investing in myself. Investing in myself. Investing in myself.
Apparently, I will learn that others can only dominate me if I allow them to, and all circumstances can be changed by taking determined action. by taking determined actions. By taking determined actions. I'm here to learn about life's material and financial aspects from an intellectual and emotional perspective. Modern numerology often diminishes its meaning with an almost exclusive focus on material and financial matters.
Activism. Change.
Eight is the number of power on the physical plane, but it is also the number of true understanding and balance, without which personal power is superficial and material gain is easily lost. I mean, I'm still young and I have no idea, but hopefully that's me until 2026. At least that's me until 2026. At least that's me until 2026. At least that's me until 2026. At least.
Activism. Change. Change.
In the future, I see myself completely redefining the visual language of the moving image. In the future, I see myself completely redefining the visual language of the moving image. In the future, I see myself completely redefining the visual language of the moving image.
Activism. Change. Change.
Expanding the creative possibilities of video art and film as a whole for generations to come. Expanding the creative possibilities.
Possibilities.
I'm still young and I have no idea.
Possibilities.
No idea. No idea.
Possibilities.
No idea.
Possibilities.
No idea. No idea. Without which personal power is superficial and material gain is easily lost. I mean, I'm still young and I have no idea, but hopefully that's me until 2026, at least. That's me until 2026, at least. That's me until 2026, at least. That's me until 2026, at least.
Uncertainty, but that's okay. Uncertainty, but that's okay. Uncertainty, but that's okay.
Activism. Change. Change. Uncertainty, but that's okay. Uncertainty, but that's okay.
According to my life path cycle number, which is 8.
Uncertainty, but that's okay.
Signifies a lifetime of investing in myself and overcoming judgments that stand between me and my strong ambitions. Apparently I will allow others can dominate me if I allow them to. Apparently I will allow others can dominate me if I allow them to. All circumstances can be changed by taking determined actions. All circumstances can be changed by taking determined actions. I'm here to learn about life's material and financial aspects from an intellectual and emotional perspective. I'm here to learn about life's material and financial aspects from an intellectual and emotional perspective. Modern numerology often diminishes 8's meaning with an almost exclusive focus on material and financial matters.
activism, change, 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 change.
Eight is the number of power on the physical plane. But it is also the number of true understanding and balance. Eight is the number of power on the physical plane. But it is also the number of true understanding and balance. Eight is the number of power on the physical plane. But it is also the number of true understanding and balance. Eight is the number of power on the physical plane.
Don't play no game, go away, I'm sorry, but
In the viable future after lockdown, I see myself working on more creative projects that work with trauma, memory, and other thematics that include in my practice. Alongside the work that I produce as an artist, I'd like to also engage in curation as a career path. To represent underrepresented artists, providing them a platform for those who do not possess a means to be heard, to be seen, to be seen.
Activism. Change. Change. Change.
In my future, I see hard work for big rewards. I always set the bar high for myself and strive for my biggest dreams. But with hard work, going the extra mile and being myself, I don't see why I can't achieve my goals.
Change.
In the future, I see myself completely redefining the visual language of the moving image. Expanding the creative possibilities of video art and film as a whole for generations to come. Expanding the creative possibilities of video art and film as a whole for generations to come. Expanding the creative possibilities of video art and film as a whole for generations to come.
La bestialidad imperialista. Bestialidad que no tiene una frontera determinada ni pertenece a un país determinado. Bestias fueron las hordas hitleristas, como bestias son los norteamericanos hoy, como bestias son los paracaidistas belgas, como bestias fueron los imperialistas franceses en Argelia. Porque es la naturaleza del imperialismo la que bestializa a los hombres, la que la convierte en fieras sedientas de sangre que están dispuestas a degollar, a asesinar, a destruir hasta la última imagen de un revolucionario, de un partidario de un régimen que haya caído bajo su bota o que luche por su libertad.
In the future, I see myself completely redefining the visual language of the moving image.
Eight is the number of power on the physical plane.
La estatua que recuerda Lumumba, hoy destruida pero mañana reconstruida, nos recuerda también en la historia trágica de ese mártir de la revolución del mundo, que no se puede confiar en el imperialismo, pero ni tantito nada.
But it is also the number of true understanding and balance. Eight is the number of power on the physical plane. But it is also the number of true understanding and balance. Eight is the number of power on the physical plane. Eight is the number of power on the physical plane, but it is also. But it is also the number of true understanding and balance. Without.
Activism. Change. Change. Change.
In my future, I see hard work but big rewards. I always set the bar high for myself and strive for my biggest dreams. But with hard work, going the extra mile and being myself, I don't see why I can't achieve my goals. Uncertainty, but that's okay. Uncertainty, but that's okay.
Dancing is the perfect antidote, because you can just do whatever you want, really. At least bodily it feels like this, and it has an impact on the mind. And you have to feel good in order to experience this kind of transformation on the dance floor. So the physical activity, which is linked to your body and you moving your muscles, is very much linked to what you feel and how you feel it. You might be able to express what you feel and think through your body, so they're not disconnected, but they're strongly connected. We look at the dance floor as a place of liminality, and that's to do with being kind of neither here nor there, so it's an in-between place where you're not necessarily lost, but you kind of shed your identity that you're very sure of when you enter the dance floor. And that also allows you to maybe explore aspects of yourself that you're not necessarily portraying and exhibiting every day. And you have to feel good in order to experience this kind of transformation on the dance floor. And very often trance is interpreted as something where an external force comes into the trancer, and the trancer makes available their body. This external force communicates through the trancer and very often has a message. In general, kind of a very strong visual component to do with the rhythmic component, but also loudness is a very important component in this. So all of these different aspects will lead to my brain having to work extremely hard until my brain says no more. And the question is, what happens then? The physical activity, which is linked to your body and you moving your muscles, is very much linked to what you feel and how you feel it. You might be able to express what you feel and think through your body, so they're not disconnected, but they're strongly connected. Look at the dance floor as a place of liminality, and that's to do with being kind of neither here nor there, so it's an in-between place where you're not necessarily lost, but you kind of shed your identity that you're very sure of when you enter the dance floor. Dancing is the perfect antidote, because you can just do whatever you want, really. At least bodily it feels like this, and it has an impact on the mind. And you have to feel good in order to experience this kind of transformation on the dance floor.
you.